a celebration takes place on the West Coast, but we also know that internationally, folks are celebrating the observance of the 40th anniversary of Dr. Martin Luther King, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And although here we celebrate the World Arts Foundation 23 years of this legacy of a forthright prophet, leader, civic leader, faith leader, all-time father and friend to everyone, whether you got to know him or not. I was a baby when he was around, but his legacy is certainly poured over to our young people and those that are of our senior moments here, and that's what I'm having right now. But anyway, I want to welcome and introduce to some and present to others Reverend Pastor, and I'm going to kill his name, but we're going to get it right, Pastor Quinard Howard Childress.
Absolutely.
And that's royalty in and of itself. He comes all the way from New Jersey, in fact, Mount Clair, New Jersey, where he's the pastor of New Calvary Baptist Church. And we want to thank him for coming. We also are going to be able to hear from him a little later as our keynote speaker and presenter to just inspire us and let us know the impact that's happened on the East Coast as well as the West Coast. You know, sometimes I tout that we celebrate, we're one of the largest organizations that celebrate long-running celebrations of Martin Luther King, but we know that there's some good things going on back there. Yeah. And I know we're going to hear from you today, but if you could just offer a few words of inspiration or reflection about this great man.
Oh, well, he was the most profound prophetical voice of his day, and often the social ills that African Americans are facing right now is simply because we've gotten away from the message of Dr. King that he shared with us. No question he was a prophet. When Bobby Kennedy, John F. Kennedy was killed in 1963, he prophetically said that they would do the same to him, and that he would not see his 40th birthday. Before he left to go to Memphis on that fateful evening, he had given his wife 12 artificial roses. Your listeners need to know, normally for her birthday he gave 12 real roses, but this time he gave 12 artificial roses, knowing that that would be the last time that he would ever extend to her that courtesy. So he was a prophet, not much like the leadership, the perceived leadership of today, that has somehow forgot the God of Martin Luther King. And I may echo this when I sit before the audience in a second. One of the things I always try to communicate, we can't get to the promised land without the God of the prophet that led us to the door. Just as it was with Joshua. Joshua did not forget the God of Moses. And African Americans have forgotten the God of Martin Luther King and really need to look back and listen to his profound relationship he had with God, even after his education and after having been married and gotten into the struggle. He realized that he needed a deeper relationship with God. Deeply humble man, and a man who knew he was going to die for the sake of the cause.
Most definitely, and I think that's really important because so many times we escape the vision as we see him as the civic leader. This was a praying man.
No question about it.
Notwithstanding all of the attacks that came upon him, and not just physical attacks, but the emotional and mental strain that this gentleman had to go through, and even so much his children and his extended family members, his parents as well. So I think that goes without saying of just how phenomenal this man was as a spiritual leader and an example of walking through the fire and indeed not getting burned.
Absolutely, and as I said, he was the most profound civil rights preacher or just preacher of our day, simply because he impacted the culture. Too often the church is not interested in impacting the culture. We are to unquestionably be salt, and Martin Luther King took on that beatitude, exhortation, literally, and lived that out. And it means sacrifice, and we don't really honor him as much as we should for who he really was. Yes. We appreciate what he did, but we would get far more out of this day if we would honor him for who he was.
Exactly.
And his relationship with God, and needless to say, that willingness to operate on any echelon or any level of the social strata, he could go there and articulate his message.
Well, we want to thank you, Dr. Childress, for coming out. We're looking forward to your presentation later on today.
Thank you.
And inspiring. He's traveled a long way to share this information with us, all the way from Mount Clair, New Jersey, from New Calvary Baptist Church. And we hope this won't be the last time that we'll see you, but we ask God's blessing be upon you. And thank you for painting just a clear picture of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King.
Okay, thank you very much for having me.
Yes.